The most important thing, and this sounds like the most boring, obvious, trite thing I can say, but I think it's actually much deeper than it sounds. The most important thing is that the models are just going to get smarter, generally across the board. There'll be a lot of other things too, which we can talk about, but if you think about what happened from GPT-3 to 3.5 to 4, it just got smarter. Yep. And you could use it for all these things. It got a little more robust.
So Sam Altman recently gave a rather fascinating talk, and it wasn't that long, but it was really interesting. And in this video, I think there are two key statements that you guys need to pay attention to, because there are a few slides that really do show how crazy things are. So one of the slides you do get to see is this clip, and I'm going to show you guys this clip right here. So basically what this guy is talking about is he's talking about the compute in terms of the future models, and the image shows a graph which looks like it's a giant increase in terms of the capabilities. And from what we've seen previously, this looks like it's going to be pretty insane with regards to the kinds of, improvements that we're going to see. So what I'm going to be showing you guys now is, of course, the clip of the guy basically stating that, we are pretty much nowhere near a plateau, which is definitely not surprising due to the major things that I've discussed previously. But after that, I'm going to show you guys a clip where Sam Altman actually speaks about what's coming next with GPT-5, because this was at the Microsoft conference.
Build software, but we are riding like a fundamental wave in the development of this AI platform, where if you just sort of look at compute over time, like how much GPU cycles or accelerator cycles that we're using to train the very biggest models in the world, since about 2012, like that rate of increase in compute when applied to training has been increasing exponentially. And we are nowhere near the point of diminishing marginal returns on how powerful we can make AI models as we increase the scale of compute.
So yeah, you can see that this is where, he literally said that there is, nowhere near any kind of, slowdown in terms of what we're going to be able to achieve. And of course, one of the crazy things that we can see is we can also see this image here. And he literally states that the next sample is going to be pretty incredible. So we can see that presumably, although there aren't any numbers on the chart, we can see that GPT-5, according to this chart, in fact, I probably should ask like an AI how much bigger this looks. The only problem with this image is that we don't know what kind of chart this is. Like, we don't know if this is like an exponentially increasing chart. We don't know if it's a log chart. But yeah, so I can't say if it's going to be 3 times, 2 times, like we really don't know. But what we can see is that the chart does look like it's going up in that, exponential way. So this is definitely pretty crazy that this was, even something that was talked about. So I think that this is something that's pretty cool. And I think it's, a key indicator on where we're going to go next. So now I'm going to show you guys the clip where Sam Altman actually talks about how the future models are going to be and what they're going to be like.
And obviously, great to see you, but developers have been such a core part of what's been happening this last year and a half. There's millions of people building on the platform. What people are doing is totally amazing. And the speed of adoption and talent and figuring out what to build with all of this over what has really not been very long. Like when we put GPT-3 out in the API, some people thought it was cool, but it was narrow where the utility happened. And seeing what people have done with GPT-4, and seeing now what's happening with GPT-4o, even though it's new and hasn't been out that long, is quite remarkable. I've never seen a technology get adopted so quickly in such a meaningful way. What people are building, how people are finding out how to do things that we never even thought of possible, which is why it's always great to have an API. That's been very cool to see.
Yeah, and I think, what you just said is like one of the most important points to me. Like there's a version of AI that could have existed that is, like a bunch of smart people like building, things at extraordinary scale and then just building it into a bunch of products where everybody gets to passively use them. Like the really brilliant thing that you all have done is like taken the exact same set of things and like decided to make it available to like any developer who's able to sign up for an API key.
Yeah, we try to be really thoughtful about what makes a good API for this. There's going to be all kinds of ways people can use this, but the more this can just be a layer that gets built into every product, every service, the better. And we've tried to make it such that if you want to add intelligence to whatever you're doing, any product, any service, we make that very easy.
Yeah, and again, I think the progress has been stunning. So, I think, the setup for introducing you onto the stage here was
I saw that big blue whale.
yeah, like, you're making good use of the whale-sized computer right now. And so, like, I without, like, getting too specific, which we can't be, obviously, like, what are the category of things that people should be expecting over the next, K months?
So the most important thing, and this sounds like the most boring, obvious, trite thing I can say, but I think it's actually much deeper than it sounds. The most important thing is that the models are just going to get smarter, generally across the board. There'll be a lot of other things too, which we can talk about, but if you think about what happened from GPT-3 to 3.5 to 4, it just got smarter. And you could use it for all these things. It got a little more robust, it got much safer, both because the model got smarter and we put much more work into building the safety tools around it. It got more useful. But the underlying capability, this amazing emergent property of, like, we actually are seeming to increase the general capability of the model across the board, that's going to keep happening. And the jump that we have seen in the utility that a model can deliver with each of those half-step jumps in smartness, it's quite significant each time. So as we think about the next model and the next one, and the incredible things that developers are going to build with that, I think that's the most important thing to keep in mind. Also, speed and cost really matter to us. So with GPT-4o, we were able to bring the price down by half and double the speed. New modalities really matter. Voice mode has been actually a genuine surprise for me in how much I like the new voice mode, and when people start integrating that, I think that'll matter. But it's the overall intelligence that'll be coming that I think matters the most.
So you, for a while now, have been one of the most successful startup investors in the world. And, like, now you are one of the most successful CEOs of one of the most important companies in the world. And so you've got a room full of developers here, like, I think there are 5,000 people in the room and there are about 200,000 people online right now. What's your advice to them as, like, they think about how to spend their precious time given what's happening in the world? Like, what's your advice?
Two things. Number one, this is probably the most exciting time to be building a product, doing a startup, whatever it is, that we have seen at least since the mobile boom, and probably, I would say, since the internet. And maybe even bigger than that, we don't know yet. But the big opportunities, the ability to sort of build something new and really kind of, like, change the landscape, that comes at the platform shift times. And we haven't had a platform shift in a while. And this looks like it's really, truly a platform shift. And so my biggest piece of advice is, like, this is a special time and take advantage of it. This is, like, not the time to delay what you were planning to do or wait for the next thing. Like, this is a special moment and a few years where a lot of stuff is going to happen and a lot of, like, great new things are going to get going. The second thing, also about platform shifts, is when the mobile phone revolution started, or really got going, like 2008, 2009, you would see people say, we're a mobile company, we have a mobile app. And then only a few years later, no one said they were a mobile company because it was like table stakes. An amazing new technology, which I would bias, but we'll put AI in that category, it doesn't get you out of the hard work of building a great product or a great company or a great service. You still have to do it. AI alone is a new enabler, but it does not automatically break the rules of business. And so you can use this as, like, a new thing to do, but you still have to figure out how you're going to build enduring value in whatever you're doing. And it's easy to lose sight of that in the excitement of the gold rush.
Yeah. So one last thing before we let you go. So, you and I and, like, members of your team and members of the Microsoft team have been doing really an extraordinary volume of work over the past year and a half, 2 years, thinking about safe deployment of an awful lot of AI capability, like everything from, APIs and developer tools to end products. And I think we have accumulated a really interesting volume of experience, like experience that's sort of hard to get if you're not doing deployments at this scale. So and I think you just mentioned something that's, like, really, really interesting. Like, part of the interesting and surprising progression of capabilities of these models means that they're more useful in, like, helping to, like, make AI systems safer. So I don't know whether you had some thoughts you wanted to share there as well.
When we first developed this technology, we spent a lot of time talking about, all right, we've made this thing, it's cool. Are we ever going to be able to get it to an acceptable level of robustness and safety. And now we kind of take that for granted with GPT-4. If you use it, it's far from perfect. We have more work to do, but it is generally considered robust enough and safe enough for a wide variety of uses. And that took an enormous amount of work across both teams and fundamental research. Like when we started this, we're like, we've got this thing, we've got this language model, it looks like kind of impressive and kind of not. And even then, how are we gonna like get it aligned, and what does it need? What is it gonna take to be able to deploy it? The number of different teams we've had to build up to go from research and creation of the model to safety systems, to figuring out policy, to how we do the monitoring, that's a huge amount of work. But it's necessary to be able to deploy these and use them. Like, when you take a medicine, you want to know it's going to be safe. When you use an AI model, you want to know it's going to be robust and behave the way you want. And have been super proud of the work the teams have done together. And I think it's amazing how fast this much work has happened, and that we can all now use this and say, oh yeah, it basically works. As the models get more powerful, there will be many new things we have to figure out as we move towards AGI. The level of complexity and I think the new research that it'll take will increase. I'm sure we'll do that together. But we view this as a gate on being able to put these things out into the world, which we really want to do.
Yeah, it's definitely table stakes. So thank you so much for being with us here today. I really appreciate your time. It's awesome to hear from you.
Awesome.
So with that being said, what do you guys think about the future of these models? One of the clear thing that Sam Altman has constantly reiterated is that these models are going to consistently get smarter. And, with the recent statement that, we're nowhere near the kind of, cutoff point to where these models are going to be getting their improvements. I mean, right now, I think the hype is definitely real. And I am really, really excited to see what some of the most notable AI critics do state if these models do have a massive jump in capabilities, because some people are stating that this isn't going to happen at all.